Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Kyle Clark.
And I'm Jennifer Meckles. Witnesses told investigators the man suspected of intentionally setting the Alexander Mountain fire wanted to be a hero. New court documents said investigators found a video of him in restricted areas trying to fight the fire and give updates on damage.
His coworkers pretty quickly suspected he might have been responsible. Kelly Rinke has learned what convinced the investigators that he was their guy. Kelly?
Yeah, Kyle and Jenny, witnesses described Jason Hobby as the self-proclaimed fire manager of Sylvandale Guest Ranch. During the few months before the fire, he was disciplined at work, and people told investigators he felt ganged up on. Dozens of families lost their home in the Alexander Mountain fire, a disaster that investigators believe was set on purpose. More than 9,500 acres burned, including properties Sylvandale Guest Ranch planned to donate to a nonprofit that helps veterans. Jason Hobby, a ranch employee, didn't like that plan, an arrest affidavit said. Investigators arrested the 49-year-old man for arson. A witness feared he wanted to play the hero after recently getting into trouble at work. Court documents said the ranch's self-proclaimed fire manager had been disciplined for harassing staff, intimidating guests, even frequently pulling guns on people who came to the property. 2 years ago, the property owners asked him to be a security officer, and then the affidavit said he started conducting traffic stops in his personal car. They demoted him this summer. During this investigation, the Larimer County Sheriff's Office found a video of Hobby in a restricted area while the Alexander Mountain fire burned. He was wearing a fire uniform, saying he planned to fight the fire. Arson investigators determined the fire started in a makeshift fire pit less than 2 miles from the ranch. Near there is where investigators found footprints similar to a boot taken from Hobby's home. The affidavit said in a different spot they also saw a gas can that matched one in pictures on his social media. Another picture showed Hobby in protective gear. An investigator learned Hobby is known in Wyoming for showing up to fire scenes and working the fires with crews, even though he couldn't find a record of Hobby being certified to do so. Through a search warrant at that house, investigators said in this home they found numerous pieces of firefighting gear and things to start fires. Hobby is facing multiple felony charges, including arson, impersonating a police officer, and menacing. Guys.
It was another beautiful day in Denver, closing out the month with what still feels like summertime weather. Weird, considering we've got folks headed to the mountains trying to get the last look at fall colors before the peak is over. I would like to get our season straight here, Lauren, at some point.
Weird.
That's right. We're going to be looking at fall colors in t-shirts and shorts. That's what it's been like so far as we push our way through the early months of fall. And we're going to continue to see that at least through the next 7 days or so. We have this sunny, dry, warm stretch of weather just sitting over Colorado. And a lot of that is to do with this large low pressure system that was Hurricane Helene. It's now pushed its way into portions of the Midwest with some trailing showers across the East Coast here. Right now we're seeing it dump heavy amounts of rain into areas like Memphis through Nashville, into other areas like it was in the Carolinas pretty terribly, but now it's moving through Ohio and into Indiana and Illinois. So we're going to continue to watch for that to move its way eastward. And it's not until that moves eastward that's when we're going to finally see some weather changing here in Colorado. Now, due to a weak cool front that pushed through today, that dropped our temperatures from the 90s yesterday into the middle 80s this afternoon. That also brought with it some very brief isolated rain showers in the high country. That's going to continue to die out as we go through the rest of the evening. So coming up in my full 7-day forecast, we're going to talk more about the sunny and warm weather through the weekend. We could reach another record high Sunday. And how long is this going to stick around? Those details for you just ahead.
What was Hurricane Helene's being blamed for at least 40 deaths across 4 states. The system is now a post-tropical cyclone after it made landfall in Florida as a Cat 4 hurricane last night. Not just Florida that's getting the heavy wind and the heavy rains. The system left a path of destruction across a lot of the southeastern U.S., Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina. Teams of first responders and volunteers from Colorado are now making their way to Florida to help. 9 News reporter Mark Salinger has more on where they're headed. Mark?
Yeah, guys, the flooding and absolute destruction that we're seeing is devastating, of course. Entire towns are underwater, major highways being torn apart, and now rescue crews are doing their best to evacuate folks who decided to stay. Colorado Task Force 1 made their way to Pinellas County, Florida, near Tampa today. They sent back these pictures that you're seeing right now of some serious damage in that area. They're still conducting searches and rescue missions today after the long journey across this country. We spoke with them as they were packing to head out.
Task force is made up of not only, fire departments, but also civilian personnel. We have structural specialists, we're traveling with the doctor, we have canine handlers that are traveling with as well, and many of those people are civilians that have to leave their daily jobs to come help us out.
So that team from Colorado includes 45 people. They even brought their own boat as they were driving across the entire country for 20 hours. While the hurricane made landfall in Florida as a Category 4 storm, it's moved up through the United States, leaving an enormous path of destruction. At least 3 firefighters have died so far in those rescues. Early estimates show the damage could surpass $20 billion.
The city of Aurora is threatening to shut down the second of 3 apartment buildings tied to an out-of-state landlord. So we've learned that Aurora Police Chief Todd Chamberlain has designated the Edge at Lowry Apartments near Dallas Street as what's called a criminal nuisance property. The police chief's note cites dozens of calls for service since late last year, history of code violations, and it says the city will shut down the property if things don't improve. The owners of the apartments say this is one of 3 properties they own that have been taken over by the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua, and that they've fled the premises for their own safety. Earlier this month, Aurora City leaders offered to staff the properties with police officers as long as staff for the property management company would come back to pick up the trash and fix broken windows and such. In a letter announcing the criminal nuisance designation, the police chief says that hasn't happened and said that, quote, ownership has no plans to replace on-site property services. So the city has already taken the unprecedented step of shutting down another property owned and operated by this same CBZ management. Last month, about 300 people were evicted from the Aspen Grove complex at Colfax and Nome. At that time, Mayor Mike Kaufman told 9 News the city was shutting down those apartments due to uninhabitable conditions that dated back years. Aurora police and city leaders have repeatedly said that this gang's presence in Aurora is small and that their impact has so far been limited to those few select properties. Police say to date they have arrested 9 people associated with the gang.
The Greeley Police Department's now investigating claims of unsafe living conditions and fraud brought forward by immigrant workers. Employees at the JBS meatpacking facility in Greeley say the food company and third-party recruiters abused and mistreated them. We first told you about this story last night. These workers came to the U.S. legally after seeing TikTok videos promising jobs in Greeley. Most came from Haiti. Once they got here, though, many were funneled into overcrowded motel rooms and homes with up to 40 people living inside. Union reps say employees are also forced to work when they're sick.
My biggest concern right now is sometime when I'm working and I'm not feeling good and I asked to go home and they don't let me go home.
Greeley Police is now encouraging more people who may have been victims of fraud, who have experienced unsafe living conditions, to come forward. They're not releasing a whole lot of information, though, as the investigation continues.
An organization in Denver has spent decades making sure that migrants in this city are not exploited at work. Centro de los Trabajadores helps migrants re-enter the workforce when they first arrive in Denver. El Centro, as it's known, has set up a curriculum to gauge what skills the migrants have, where they might be a good fit in the workforce, and then help them secure a job and making sure they're treated fairly there.
Para mí fue una transición al principio bastante difícil porque llegar a este país, tanto por el idioma, otra cultura realmente diferente a donde vengo, y para mí de verdad que no fue fácil al principio.
Big focus for the group has always been helping workers avoid wage theft and exploitation. And they recently worked with Denver City Council so that the city auditor has the right to subpoena contractors who owe money to their employees.
38 days until the presidential election. Both nominees back on the road again today. Vice President Kamala Harris traveled to the border in Battleground, Arizona. Her first border visit in several years, and one she hopes could close a significant polling gap with Trump on handling this issue of immigration. Harris called for tightened security, including more Border Patrol agents. And former President Trump campaigned in Michigan today after he met with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky in New York. Trump has been critical of how the Biden administration and Congress have handled and continue to send financial aid and weapons to Ukraine, 2 years now into the war with Russia. Standing next to Zelensky at Trump Tower, the former president claimed a, quote, very good relationship with both Zelensky and Vladimir Putin. Trump also said he can help work out a resolution to the war if he is elected in November.
Reminder that ballots and blue books. So the blue books are the packets that include the information for the 14 statewide initiatives up for voters in Colorado. The blue books are being sent out now. Ballots will come later. If you're looking for a digestible voter guide, our team has put one together for you, and there you can even find a link to register to vote. Our guide has a link to the online version of Colorado's Blue Book if you'd like to see it digitally. That's all on 9news.com.